and welcome to my second sequence in this tutorial on C programming. So, in the last video we saw how to write a simple C program to print out Hello World. Now, before we get started in the next section of this tutorial, I really want to cover something that's pretty important. So, right now, if I open up the terminal here, so I click on this and I go New Terminal, and I look for Git, I have that. Git is available on my machine, but there's no repository here. So a repository, let's try and think of this. A repository is basically it's a place where you store all your code. So let's say that we have, something like I have my block of code over here, and then over here I have, this is Evan's code, and then over here I have Dave's code, and my code, I want to be able to let Dave use my code. So what I can do is I can use a repository and I can allow Dave to go into the repository. And let's see if I can pull this off. Okay, Dave can go into the repository, and then together we have what's called a repository. So what that means is I can make changes to my code, Dave can make changes to my code, and we can look at our code together. So let's go ahead and open up Chrome. I want to open up Chrome here, and we will see how we can create a new repository. Here I am in Google Chrome, and I've gone to github.com. So if you don't have an account for GitHub, go ahead and please make an account. After you do that, you'll probably be redirected to a page like this right here. And so I'll just kind of show you some stuff that I have in my GitHub. So in my GitHub, I have a repository which has all of the code for C algorithms I'm going to be covering in this course. So if I click in here, I can look at these folder structures. So this is really similar to File Explorer on Windows, and it contains code files, source code, that I use for my programs. So in here we can see this is a basic C program written in here. So what you need to do is in GitHub, you want to create a new repository, and we're going to call this one, let's call it Demo C. Quick repo to demo code in C. Alright, go ahead and click on repository. After you do that, it'll take you to this page, which will give you a set of instructions for initializing the repository. Now we already have Git on our machine because that was covered in the first tutorial. So if you don't have that, that's going to be a problem. What we're going to need to do is run these commands in the terminal with Git. If you remember, I typed Git and a bunch of stuff showed up after that. And then we're going to type init, which is for Git initialize, and then we're going to add. So we're going to add a file called readme. Oh yeah, we saw echo too. Echo, and then that's an input into the file readme.md. Okay, so let's go ahead and open up the terminal, and we will see how we can add this repository to our new project. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get out of helloworld.c, and I'm going to make a new folder. So in Visual Studio Code, right click over here on this side menu, click New Folder. We're going to make a folder called Demo C. We're going to open up Demo C. We're going to click on it, right click, New File, Demo C.C, and we're going to look at how we can separate our code. and we're going to add a new file, demo c.h. We're not going to type anything in here yet. What I'm going to do in another window is I'm going to open up the GitHub page from GitHub, and I'm going to copy and paste those commands down here in the terminal. That's what I'm going to do. Okay, so first command that we have is echo $.c. So this is in Markdown. That's a format for Markdown. I don't really know too much about that, but we're just going to run this command. Okay. And if you look at this, I ran that in the wrong directory. Look at that README file. It's right here in the intro to C. I don't really want that, so I'm going to right click, delete. I want to make sure that I'm in the demo C directory. How do you do that? So if you're using bash, you type ls. If you're using PowerShell or any other Windows terminal, you would type dir. And it should show you the folders and files in this directory. I'm going to type cd, and then I'm going to type demo C to go into the demo C folder. So I'm changing directory into the demo C folder. Okay, and now type ls. Here we go. Now I can see the files that I'm using for this project. So once again, I'm going to go ahead and copy that echo from GitHub. So echo $.demo C into README. And now we can see that the README folder, or the README files, has been added here with demo. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do, this is good practice, let's type git init. You'll see it says initialized an empty git repository in intro c demo c.git. And then I'm going to type git commit -m first commit, copy and paste that straight from GitHub. Let's go ahead and run that, and it says I have some untracked files, but I'm not worried about that. I'm just adding the README right now. My repository is going to be different from yours. Right here is probably going to have your username. Mine has my username. Okay, so let's go ahead and git remote add origin. What is that doing? It's adding the origin for our repository. So that means that this project is going to be linked to, you can think of it as all the code we're going to be pushing is going to be pushed to this repository. So it's stored in some server somewhere that GitHub owns, and we'll be able to use this code on other computers. So git remote add origin. We'll put that URL in there. And the last thing that we have to do is run git push -u, so git push update origin master, the master branch. That is the branch that is going to contain all the code for this project. Okay, says master, so let's do git status. And it says that there are no commits yet. So I thought we typed in git commit -m git. Oh, I see what we forgot to do. So this is a useful command. Git status will tell you the status of the of your repository. So this is, there's nothing to commit right now. So what we need to do is we need to run git add readme.md. Look at that, we didn't add readme. Okay, so now we type git status, and it says a new file, says that there's a new file add to our repository, or to our, there's a new file added to our changes. All right, so let's go ahead and do git commit -m for message, and we'll say initial commit. Okay, we don't need to run that git remote add origin. That's been done. So now we need to do git push -u origin master, and this should work. Here we go. Enumerating objects. Okay. So this might take a second. All right, and we got a new branch, and it said that everything's set up to tracker remote branch master. All right, so let's go ahead and look at what that looks. Let's go ahead and see that in GitHub. So here I am in GitHub, and I'm at the page that we left off at, where it showed me all the commands I need to run to initialize my repository. I'm going to go ahead and click refresh. Here we go. We have readme.md. Nothing's really there. That's just because we added readme.md, which only contained the title demo C. So let's go ahead and add our other files. All right, we're going to write some code before we add these files up. So we're going to do hash include standard lib.h and hash include stdio.h, and we're going to make an entry point in main, and let's print out hello world. How about that? Printf hello world. Okay, close that and return 0. All right, now let's go down to the terminal, and we're going to run g++ demo c.c-o for output, proc. Okay, run it. Let's make sure proc works. So we're going to run proc, the executable proc. Get hello world. Look at that, works. So now we're going to run git add, and I'm going to use a dot. What does that dot mean? Git add dot is to add all files. Git add all files. Now if I run the command git status, this has got 2 new files added. So I'm going to run git commit -m. And for my message, my commit message, you should be as specific as possible, but for my message, I'm just going to put adding base files. Okay, there we go. Last thing I need to do, git push. It's going to push that up to my repository. Perfect. Now let's jump into GitHub and see what those changes look like in GitHub. Okay, here we are in GitHub, right where we left off. Let me go ahead and hit refresh, and what we should expect is to see demo.c and demo.h in here. Hey, there we go. Demo.c, it's got the code, and of course demo.h doesn't have anything. Okay, so let's go back to our program, and let's try and understand how we can separate our code into 2 different files. That's going to be the first step here. Okay, let's take this piece of code and let's separate it out. We'll make it into a function. So to make a function, we're going to first declare the type of the function. So there are four basic types. Well, there's several types in C. So the one that we're going to look at is void, but we could also have int, we could also have double, we could also have float, we could also have char. Let me go ahead and move char up to the spot here, and we could also have struct. So there's several types in C. These are keywords. I will make another video that will go through the different types and their properties, but for all we need to know is, all we need to know for this video is that void doesn't return any. Void is a value that is just void. There's nothing there. It represents the absence of type. An int is the most natural size of an integer for the machine. So it's 4 bytes in size. So go ahead and figure out what 4 bytes, the largest number that you can create with 4 bytes. Go ahead and try and figure that out. That's how big an integer can be. And then a char is typically 1 byte, and it's an integer type, but we represent it with a letter. And then a float And a float and double are used to represent decimal numbers. A double is more precise than a float. That's the main difference. And then we have struct, which allows us to create our own types, our own custom types. But for this little demo here, we're going to use the void type, which is the absence of a type. Why void? Because we just want to print something out. So we'll call our function show. We'll call our function show. How about that? Show. And I'm going to put parentheses after show and some curly braces. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this piece of code. I'm going to hold down the Alt button in the arrow key. I'm going to go up. So I'm holding Alt and arrow up. That allows you to move snippets of code up and down in Visual Studio Code. Go ahead and save. And I just realized, so I like to do this in C. I like to declare my definitions of functions at the top of the file. So hold down the Alt key and the down arrow. I'm going to move that down. And I'm going to declare the definition of show up here. So that's going to be void show. Okay, so what this is doing is it's declaring the definition of show up here at the top. And then when our code when we get to this line in the code, what it's going to do is it will go ahead and look for the implementation of this function. So here we're declaring void show as a type, and then here we find the implementation. I like to keep this as the definition, and this is the implementation. Okay, and so now in our function we don't have to write printf. I can write show. Go ahead and save that. I'm going to click down here in the terminal. I'm going to do g++ demo c.c-o proc -o. All right, let's run it. So look at that, we get hello world, hello world, hello world. So we can use functions to kind of hide all of the logic of big chunks of code, and then we can use them repeatedly over and over again. This is very useful because it means we can reuse our code over and over again. Now, I like to keep my C files kind of clean, so what I do is I usually take this stuff in these libraries and I usually put them in a header file that's associated with the C file. So let me go ahead and copy and paste this. Control C, Control V, and I also need my definition. Control C, Control V. Go ahead and paste that in here. Let's save it. Now we can take this. We can take those pieces of code out of this file, and now I'll show you what happens if we try to do this. If we try to do this, if we try to just compile this code, we're gonna get an error. So g++ demo c.c-o proc. We're getting an error. It says that show was not declared in this scope. It's because what we have here is a header file. So you can think of this as kind of the information that we need for this function to be able to execute. In here we have our definition, and we have our implementation, and we have stdio, which is used for printf. Actually, printf comes from stdlib. So we have all of this stuff in here that we need to use in this code. This is a really good way to understand what the include does. The include will link this C file to this header file, and then what that does is it creates a link. You can think of it as all of this stuff gets shoved on top of this file, and we can use it in our program. So how do we do that? Just use include demo c.h. Go ahead and save it. Let's go ahead and try and rerun that command that just failed. So g++ demo.c-o proc, and then let's run proc. There we go. We get our program. This doesn't really do anything yet, but we're going to use it to understand how we can separate our code files and how we can upload code to GitHub and save it in our repository. So let's go back and let's make sure that we can add this to GitHub. So I'm going to do git add dot for adding all, git add dot. I'm going to do git commit -m, and I'm going to do adding code files. So you should try and be as specific as possible in your commits. Mine aren't terribly specific right now. That's just because this is a demonstration of how to get this set up. So I'm going to run my commit. It's going to check out our status, git status. So we're ahead by one commit, which means that everything's good. All right, so we're going to be doing git push. So what this is doing is pushing up the code that we just wrote up to GitHub. All right, let's go see this in GitHub. Right where we left off, let's go ahead and hit refresh. And now we see that in democ.h we have the code that we just wrote. And if we go back to the repository, I want to show you something that's kind of cool. Here we can look at our commits and we can see, oh, initial commit, what did we add? Okay, we just only had one file change with one addition. If we go back, the next commit, it shows you the lines that were added, okay, to democ. Let's go back. Now we can see that we took these lines out of demo.c and we put them into democ.h. All right, so that's going to be it for this tutorial. I hope that you found this informative and you learned something. If you like this video, please subscribe and like my videos. Thank you. Bye-bye.